Vincent stood frozen in the doorway of his home office. His hands trembled at his sides. His breath caught somewhere between his chest and his throat. The wheelchairs, both of them, sat empty by the window. And on the floor, his housekeeper was doing something with his twin sons that made every muscle in his body lock with fear. "Stop," his voice came out strangled. "What are you doing?" 19 months ago, a medical emergency shattered Vincent Harlow's entire world. His wife, Diane, collapsed while picking up their twin boys from kindergarten. A brain aneurysm. No warning, no symptoms. She died in the ambulance before it reached the hospital. 5-year-old Ethan and Lucas were in the car when it happened. They watched their mother fall, watched the paramedics try to save her, watched everything fall apart. The trauma manifested in ways no one expected. Within 3 weeks, both boys stopped walking. No physical injury, no spinal damage, no medical explanation. Conversion disorder, the neurologist said. Psychosomatic paralysis triggered by severe emotional trauma. The prognosis was devastating. Recovery was possible, but unlikely without intensive psychological intervention. And even then, there were no guarantees. Vincent hired the best child psychologists in the country, trauma specialists from Johns Hopkins, behavioral therapists from Stanford. Nothing worked. The boys sat in their wheelchairs like shadows. They barely spoke, barely ate. Their eyes, once full of light and mischief, had gone dull and empty. Vincent told himself he was doing everything right. The best care, the best doctors, the best equipment. But deep down, he knew the truth. His sons weren't healing because he didn't know how to reach them anymore. He'd become so focused on fixing them that he'd forgotten how to simply be with them. 5 months ago, Camilla Torres walked through his front door. 34 years old, single mother of twin girls, hired to manage the household, cook meals, and help with daily routines. Nothing medical, nothing clinical. Just presence. Vincent barely noticed her at first. She was quiet, efficient, respectful of boundaries. But the boys noticed. For the first time in months, Ethan smiled when Camilla set down his breakfast. Lucas asked her a question. "Do you know any songs?" Camilla nodded. "I know a few. Would you like to hear one?" Lucas nodded. It was the first thing he'd asked for since his mother died. For 4 weeks, while Vincent traveled for business, investor meetings in Lowe's Angels, board calls in London, Camilla worked with the twins. Gently, quietly, without anyone's permission. She sang to them while she cooked. She read them stories her grandmother had told her as a child. She sat beside their wheelchairs and talked to them about her own daughters, about loss, about healing. And then, one afternoon, she did something no one else had dared to do. She asked them if they wanted to try standing. Vincent came home early from a canceled flight to Singapore. The house was quiet. Then he heard something from the sitting room, something he hadn't heard in over a year. Laughter. He walked down the hall and pushed open the door. What he saw made his heart stop. Ethan and Lucas were on the floor. Not in their wheelchairs, on the carpet. Camilla sat cross-legged between them, her hands gently supporting Ethan's back as he leaned forward, reaching for a toy car. "That's it, sweetheart," Camilla whispered. "You're doing so well." Lucas was beside them, his legs stretched out in front of him, toes flexing slightly against the carpet. Vincent's pulse hammered in his ears. "What are you doing?" His voice came out harsher than he intended. Camilla looked up startled. The boys froze. "Mr. Harlow." "Why are they on the floor?" His voice rose. "Why aren't they in their chairs?" "I was helping them." "You're not a therapist." His hands were shaking now. "You're not qualified to do this. You don't just," he gestured at the empty wheelchairs. "You can't do this." Camilla's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed calm. "They wanted to try, Mr. Harlow." That's not your decision to make. If you would just listen. Get them back in their wheelchairs, now." The room went silent. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Lucas turned his face away. Camilla looked at Vincent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Okay." She helped Ethan first, lifting him gently, whispering something soft Vincent couldn't hear. Then Lucas. Both boys reached for Camilla as she buckled them in. Not for him. For her. That hurt worse than anything. "I need you to leave," Vincent said quietly. Camilla stood, wiped her hands on her jeans. "They were happy, Mr. Harlow." "Just go." She walked past him without another word. The door clicked shut behind her. Vincent knelt beside his sons. Ethan's silent tears cut straight through him. Lucas stared at the floor, small shoulders shaking. "It's okay, buddy," Vincent whispered, but his voice cracked. "Daddy's here." Ethan turned his face away. Vincent stayed there on his knees, hands trembling. He'd just seen his sons moving, actually engaging, actually trying, their faces bright with something he hadn't seen in over a year. And he'd stopped it. He looked at the empty space on the carpet where they'd been sitting, at the wheelchairs where they sat now, at his sons who wouldn't look at him. "What have I done?" The question echoed in the silence, and he had no answer. That night, Vincent sat alone in his study. The city lights blurred through the rain-streaked window. His whiskey sat untouched. He kept seeing it. The empty wheelchairs, his sons' faces, Ethan reaching for Camilla instead of him. When did that happen? When did they stop reaching for me? He knew the answer. 19 months ago, the day Diane collapsed. The day he'd been in a conference call and ignored her first phone call. She'd called again, he'd silenced it. By the time he called back, she was already unconscious in the ambulance. The boys had been there, they'd seen everything. And Vincent had been too late. He'd arrived at the hospital to find his sons sitting in a waiting room, clutching each other, eyes wide with shock. "Where's Mommy?" Ethan had asked. Vincent didn't have an answer. 3 weeks later, Ethan stopped walking. Lucas followed 2 days after. The doctors called it conversion disorder, psychological trauma manifesting as physical paralysis. Vincent called it his fault. He'd failed Diane, he'd failed his sons. And now, 5 months after hearing Camilla to bring some warmth back into his cold, empty house, he just caught her doing something that terrified him. She'd gotten them on the floor, moving, trying, and they'd been happy. At 3:00 in the morning, Vincent couldn't take it anymore. He reached for his tablet and pulled up the security footage from that afternoon. He had to know, what exactly had she been doing with his sons? The timestamp read 2:15 p.m. Vincent pressed play. Camilla sat on the carpet, legs folded beside her. Ethan and Lucas were next to her, not in their wheelchairs but on the floor. She was humming something soft, a lullaby maybe, her hands moving gently along Ethan's back. "There you go, Carreño," her voice came through the speaker. "Just lean forward a little, that's it." Vincent leaned closer to the screen. Ethan's hand reached out, slowly, shakily, and touched the toy car in front of him. Vincent's breath caught. He rewound it, watched again. It happened. His son had reached for something, voluntarily, with intention. He scrolled forward. At 2:31 p.m., Lucas shifted his weight, his legs moving slightly beneath him. Camilla noticed. She didn't make a big deal of it. She just smiled and said, "I see you, Lucas, I see you trying." Lucas looked at her, and for the first time in months he smiled back. A real smile. The kind Vincent hadn't seen since before Diane died. His throat tightened. He kept watching. Week 1, Camilla singing while the boys sat in their chairs. Gentle, patient, no pressure. Week 2, Camilla sitting on the floor beside them telling stories, the boys leaning forward to listen. Week 3, Ethan reaching for her hand, Luca's laughing at something she said. Week 4, this afternoon, both boys on the floor, moving, trying. Then he heard it. Camilla's voice, barely above a whisper. Dios mío, the doctors say they can't, but I see them trying. And trying is where healing begins. Please help me help them. The words pierced straight through him. Trying is where healing begins. Vincent pressed his palms against his eyes. His chest felt like it was caving in. He'd yelled at her, humiliated her, sent her away for the one thing that had made his son smile in 19 months. He checked the live camera feed. Camilla's room was empty, bed untouched. His stomach dropped. She left. Then he found her, sitting on the floor of the boys' bedroom, wrapped in a blanket, back against the wall. Ethan curled toward her like she was safety itself. Lucas clutched his stuffed elephant, breathing soft and steady. She hadn't left. After everything, she'd stayed. Vincent stared at the screen, something breaking open inside him. Why, he whispered. He stood, walked barefoot through the dark house until he reached the boys' door. The room smelled like lavender. Camilla's eyes opened when he stepped inside. She didn't move, didn't speak, just watched him with tired, guarded eyes. Vincent's voice faltered. I shouldn't have. You told me to stop. Her voice was flat, empty. He looked down at his sons, at the way Ethan leaned toward her even in sleep. I was wrong, he said quietly. Camilla studied him for a long moment. Then she looked away. And Vincent realized that saying it wasn't enough. Dawn broke gray and cold. Vincent hadn't slept. He'd sat in his chair, watching the security feed, until the sun started creeping through the clouds. At 6:45, he went to check on the boys. He found Camilla still on the floor beside their beds, blanket pulled around her shoulders, head rested against the wall, eyes closed. She'd stayed all night. Vincent stood in the doorway, chest tight. Ethan stirred first. His eyes blinked open, landed on his father, then immediately searched for Camilla. She's right here, buddy, Vincent whispered. Camilla's eyes opened. For a second she looked disoriented. Then she saw him and her guard went back up. She sat up slowly, careful not to wake Lucas. I'll get breakfast started. Wait. She paused but didn't look at him. I watched the footage, Vincent said, all of it. Camilla's jaw tightened. She stood, folded the blanket, set it on the chair. Then you know I wasn't hurting them. I know. Silence stretched between them. I saw Ethan reach for that toy, Vincent continued, voice low. I saw Lucas smile. I saw he stopped, swallowed. I saw them trying. Camilla finally looked at him. Her eyes were tired, guarded. And I need to understand, Vincent said. How did you know to do that? She didn't answer right away. Just stood there, arms crossed, like she was deciding whether he deserved the truth. Finally she spoke. My daughters are twins too, Isabella and Sophia. They're 8 now. Vincent waited. When they were 4, my husband died, heart attack, no warning. Camilla's voice softened. The girls stopped talking for 6 months, selective mutism the doctors called it, trauma response. She paused. Everyone told me to give them space, let them process, don't push. But you didn't listen, Vincent said quietly. I couldn't. Camilla's eyes met his. I sat with them every single day. I sang to them. I told them stories. I didn't force them to talk. I just refused to let them be alone in their grief. And they started talking again. Not right away, but slowly. One word at a time. She paused. When I saw Ethan and Lucas, the way they sat in those chairs, the way they'd stopped trying, I recognized it. I've seen it before. Vincent's throat burned. Why didn't you tell me? Because you wouldn't have let me try. Her eyes held his. "You would have said I was overstepping, that I didn't understand." He couldn't argue. She was right. "They need you, Mr. Harlow," Camilla said quietly. "Not your money, not your doctors, you." The words hit him like a punch. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. A text from his assistant. "Your sister is on her way, ETA 45 minutes. She said it's urgent." Vincent's blood went cold. His sister never showed up unannounced unless something was very, very wrong. 3 days later, Vincent sat in Dr. Patricia Monroe's office with both boys and Camilla. He'd insisted on new evaluations, comprehensive assessments, everything. Dr. Monroe had been skeptical. "We just saw them 8 weeks ago, Vincent. I'm not sure what you're expecting to find." "Something's changed," Vincent said. "I need you to look again." The boys were nervous. Ethan kept reaching for Camilla's hand. She held it gently, whispering something that made him relax. Vincent watched from across the room. The evaluations took 2 hours. Neurological exams, psychological assessments, motor function tests. Ethan went first, then Lucas. Camilla stayed close to both of them the whole time, her presence calming them in ways Vincent couldn't. Dr. Monroe studied the results in silence. Then she stopped, removed her glasses, stared at the screen. "What is it?" Vincent asked, heart pounding. Dr. Monroe didn't answer right away. She pulled up Ethan's previous scans, compared them side by side. Finally, she spoke. "There's voluntary motor response in Ethan's lower extremities." Vincent's breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dr. Monroe looked up, confusion written across her face. "It means he's trying to move, consciously, intentionally." She pulled up Lucas's results. Same with Lucas, muscle engagement, voluntary flexion. She set down her tablet. "Vincent, this shouldn't be happening, not with conversion disorder, not without intensive therapeutic intervention." "Is it possible?" Vincent's voice shook. Could they walk again?" "If the psychological barriers continue to break down," Dr. Monroe looked at the boys, then at Camilla. "Yes, it's possible." She turned to Camilla. "What have you been doing with them?" Camilla looked uncertain. Nothing formal, just being with them, talking, singing, letting them try when they felt ready. "Presents," Dr. Monroe repeated softly. "Yes, ma'am." Dr. Monroe was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Whatever you're doing, don't stop. I'll monitor their progress closely." But she paused. "This is extraordinary." Vincent felt something crack open in his chest. Hope. Real, terrifying, impossible hope. That night his phone rang. His sister's name flashed on the screen. He answered. "Rachel." "I'm coming to see you tomorrow," Rachel Harlow said, voice clipped. "We need to talk about this woman you've hired." Vincent's stomach dropped. "How did you?" "I have my sources. I'll be there at noon." The line went dead. Rachel Harlow arrived at 12:15 the next day. Vincent heard the car pull up, watched from the window as his sister stepped out. Tailored suit, perfect hair, the expression of someone who'd never been told no. He met her at the door. "Rachel." "Vincent," she kissed his cheek without warmth, "you look tired." "I've been busy." "I'm sure you have." Her eyes swept past him into the house. "Where is she?" "If you mean Camilla, she's with the boys." Rachel's lips pressed into a thin line. "We need to talk now." They went to his study. Rachel didn't sit. She stood by the window, arms crossed. "I spoke with Patricia Monroe yesterday." Vincent's jaw tightened. "She told me you've been letting an unqualified domestic employee conduct therapy on your sons." "That's not." "Do you understand the liability?" Rachel's voice cut like glass. "The danger. This woman has no credentials, no training, and you're allowing her to experiment on traumatized children. She's not experimenting, she's helping them. You don't know that. Rachel turned to face him. You're desperate, Vincent, I understand, but desperate people make catastrophic decisions. The doctors saw results, Vincent said. Motor response, voluntary movement, things that weren't there before. And what happens when she makes a mistake, when she causes a setback? Rachel's eyes were cold. I'm calling our attorneys. You will not. Then I'll report her to Child Services myself. Vincent stood. You will leave her alone. Or what? Before he could answer, the door opened. Camilla stood there, Lucas in her arms. The boy's head rested on her shoulder. I'm sorry to interrupt, Camilla said quietly. Lucas needed, she stopped, saw Rachel. The room went still. Rachel's eyes moved from Camilla to Lucas and back again. Put him down, Rachel said. Rachel, Vincent started. Put him down. Camilla hesitated. Then she gently set Lucas on his feet, steadying him with her hands on his shoulders. Lucas wobbled. His legs shook. But he stood. Rachel's face went pale. Then Lucas saw his aunt. Aunt Rachel, he whispered. And he lifted his arms toward her. Actually lifted them with strength, with intention. Rachel stared. Her mouth opened slightly, no words came. Go ahead, Camilla said softly, he wants you. Rachel took one step forward. Then another. Lucas reached higher. And Rachel Harlow, who never cried, who never showed weakness, felt her eyes burn. She turned and walked out of the room without a word. Vincent found her in the hallway 10 minutes later, staring at nothing. Rachel. She didn't look at him, just spoke, voice hollow. I saw something today I can't explain. I know. A long silence. I need to make a phone call. Vincent's blood went cold. Rachel, please. But she was already walking away. Vincent didn't sleep that night. He kept his phone close, waiting for it to ring. For lawyers, for child services, for someone to show up and take everything away. But the call never came. The next morning, he found Camilla in the sitting room with the boys. She had them on the carpet, working through gentle movements. Her voice was soft, steady. That's it, Ethan, just a little more. You're doing so well. Ethan's leg shifted slightly, his face scrunched with effort. I see you trying, Carino, I see you. Vincent stood in the doorway, watching. Lucas noticed him first. Daddy, look. He flexed his toes. Barely, but it was there. I see, buddy, Vincent's voice cracked. That's amazing. Camilla glanced up at him. Their eyes met for a moment. Then she looked away. The rest of the morning passed quietly. Too quietly. Camilla kept to herself, made lunch, cleaned the kitchen, stayed professional. Vincent wanted to say something. Anything. But the words felt too big for his mouth. At 2:00 in the afternoon, his phone finally rang. Rachel's name lit up the screen. He answered, bracing himself. Rachel. I spoke with our attorney this morning. Vincent's stomach dropped. A long pause. I told him to stand down. Vincent blinked. What? I'm not calling anyone, I'm not interfering. Her voice was quieter than he'd ever heard it. What I saw yesterday, I can't unsee it. Relief flooded through him, so fast it hurt. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Rachel's tone sharpened slightly, but I won't be the one who stops this, whatever this is. She hung up. Vincent stood there, phone in hand, trying to process it. His sister, who questioned everything, who trusted nothing she couldn't control, had backed down. Because of Lucas. Because of what she'd seen. He found Camilla in the boys' room, folding laundry. "My sister's not going to interfere," he said. Camilla paused. "That's good." "Camilla." "Mr. Harlow, you don't have to explain." She set down the clothes. "I understand what's at stake, for you, for them." "That's not," he stopped, started again. "I need you to know what you're doing for my sons. I was wrong to stop you." She looked at him then. Really looked. "They're not finished healing," she said quietly, "and neither am I." Vincent nodded. Something unspoken passed between them. Then his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk about Camilla Torres. This is Dr. Helen Briggs, State Child Welfare Division. I have concerns." Vincent's chest tightened. It wasn't over. 6 days later, Vincent came home from a morning meeting to find the house too quiet. He walked through the rooms, calling her name. "Camilla." Nothing. He checked the kitchen, the sitting room, her bedroom. Empty. Her clothes were gone, her bag, everything. On the kitchen counter, he found a handwritten note. "Mr. Harlow, your sister was right to be concerned. My presence is causing conflict, and that's the last thing Ethan and Lucas need right now. Please don't stop working with them. They're so close. The exercises are in the blue folder in the sitting room. Dr. Monroe can guide you. Thank you for letting me be part of their lives, even for a little while. Camilla." Vincent's hands shook as he read it again. No. He went to find the boys. They were in the sitting room, in their wheelchairs by the window. Silent tears streamed down their faces. Vincent knelt in front of them, heart breaking. "What's wrong, buddy?" Ethan looked at him with red, swollen eyes. "Where's Miss Camilla?" His voice was barely a whisper. And then Vincent froze. It was a full sentence. The first full sentence Ethan had spoken in 19 months. "Where's Miss Camilla?" Ethan said again, louder this time, desperate. Lucas started crying harder. "We want her back." Vincent pulled them both close, his own tears falling. I know, buddy." But as he held his sons, feeling them shake with grief, hearing them speak for the first time in over a year, something crystallized inside him. His sister's concerns didn't matter. The state's questions didn't matter. His pride, his control, his fear, none of it mattered. What mattered was the woman who'd given his sons their voices back. And he'd let her walk away. Vincent pulled back, wiping his son's tears. "Stay right here, okay? I'm going to fix this." "You're bringing her back," Ethan's voice cracked with hope. "I'm going to try." He grabbed his keys, his phone, called his assistant while running to the car. "I need an address, Camilla Torres, now." "Sir, I can't just." "Now." 12 minutes later, the address came through. East Side, a modest apartment complex. Vincent drove through mid-morning traffic like a man possessed. Rain started falling, light at first, then heavier. His hands gripped the steering wheel. "Please be there, please." He found the building, peeling paint, shared entrance, narrow stairwell. Second floor, apartment 2C. He took the stairs 2 at a time, stood in front of her door, rain-soaked, breathless. He knocked. The door opened. Camilla stood there, eyes red from crying. "Mr. Harlow." "My son spoke today." Vincent's voice broke. For the first time in 19 months, Ethan said a full sentence. Camilla's hand rose to her mouth. "He asked where you were." Tears streamed down Vincent's face. "You gave him his voice back, and I let you leave." "Your sister." "I don't care." He shook his head. "My sister saw Lucas stand and it changed everything. But it doesn't matter what she thinks. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks." He swallowed hard. "My sons need you." He paused. "I need you. Mr. Harlow." Please, his voice cracked completely. Come back, not as the housekeeper, as family, as the person who saw my sons when everyone else, including me, had stopped looking. Camilla's tears spilled over. They really asked for me. Vincent nodded, unable to speak. She looked at him. This man who'd arrived at her door in the rain, broken open, finally seeing clearly. Okay, she whispered, I'll come back. 5 months later, on a Thursday morning that felt like any other, everything changed. In the sitting room, Dr. Monroe and a physical therapist stood watching. Vincent stood by the window, hands clasped like prayer. Ethan stood on the carpet. Camilla's hands supported him lightly at the waist. You ready, Carreño? She whispered. He nodded, small jaw set with determination. She let go. Ethan took 1 step. Then 2. 3. 5 unassisted steps before his legs wobbled and Vincent caught him, both of them sobbing. Lucas, watching his brother, pushed himself up from his chair. Took 3 shaky steps of his own before Camilla caught him, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Monroe wiped her eyes. 18 years in pediatric psychology, she said hoarsely. I've never seen anything like this. Vincent held Ethan close, looked at Lucas in Camilla's arms, and whispered the first real prayer he'd said since Diane died. Thank you, thank you. 1 year later, the Harlow Foundation for Childhood Trauma Recovery opened its doors. A nonprofit funding holistic, relationship-based approaches for children with psychosomatic conditions. Approaches rooted in presence, patience, and love. Camilla became the program director. At the ribbon cutting, Rachel Harlow stood beside her. Didn't apologize, but she shook Camilla's hand. You proved me wrong, Rachel said. That's rare. Vincent stood at the podium, looking at the crowd. At Camilla, at Ethan and Lucas standing beside her. Standing, no wheelchairs, no assistants. 19 months ago, I thought my sons' futures were over, he said. I thought accepting their limitations was the only responsible choice. He paused, voice thick with emotion. I was wrong. Hope isn't reckless. Giving up is. And sometimes the most qualified person in the room is the one who refuses to accept impossible. The applause was thunderous. That evening, in the sitting room where it all began, Ethan and Lucas raced toy cars across the carpet. Standing, wobbling, laughing with pure joy. Camilla sat on the floor, watching them with quiet pride. Vincent joined her, their shoulders touched. You gave them their lives back, he said softly. No, Camilla smiled. They were always fighting, I just refused to let them fight alone. The wheelchair sat folded in the corner, covered with a sheet, unused, no longer needed. Ethan climbed into Vincent's lap. Daddy, can Miss Camilla read us a story? Of course, buddy. The one about the brave knight, Lucas added. I think I can do that, Camilla said, smiling. As evening light filtered through the windows, Vincent realized something. He'd come home that day, expecting to find his sons trapped in their trauma. Instead, he'd found the woman who would free them all, not through medicine alone, but through something doctors couldn't prescribe. Presence, patience, love. And the quiet, unshakable belief that healing still happens when someone refuses to give up. If this story touched your heart, stay with us. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this remind us miracles aren't found in protocols, they're found in people who refuse to stop believing.